Dari Utsman ibn Affan berkata, aku mendengar Nabi SAW bersabda, sesiapa yang membaca Bismillahilladzi la yadurru ma'asmihi syai'un fil ardi wala fis sama' wa huwas sami'ul alim, yang bermaksud dengan nama Allah yang dengan namanya tidak ada sesuatu pun yang dapat memberikan kemudaratan di bumi maupun di langit. Dialah yang maha mendengar lagi maha mengetahui. Sebanyak 3 kali, maka dia tidak akan ditimpa bala yang datang secara tiba-tiba sehingga subuh. Dan barang siapa yang membacanya ketika subuh sebanyak 3 kali, maka dia tidak akan ditimpa bala secara tiba-tiba sehingga petang, iaitu malam. Hadis rawahu Abu Dawud menurut Syekh Syu'ib Al-Arnud. Hadis ini adalah hasan.
Assalamualaikum and good afternoon. I'm back again. I've given this another opportunity to talk to you about MUET papers. So before I start, I would like to inform you that this time around my visuals hopefully will be clearer than the last slot, because after I watched the recording, the visuals were not very clear, and I assume that many of you who had watched it had difficulty in understanding what I was saying. So this time around, I got a friend's brother who had helped me create this PowerPoint visuals in order for it to be more clearer and for whoever is watching this video to understand better on what I'm going to say. Okay, so today I'll be focusing on 2 papers, which are MUET 801 listening and MUET 802 speaking. Okay, so let's start by doing 801 listening. Okay, this is the examination format. The paper carries 45 marks, or equivalent to 15%, and the test is for 30 minutes. Okay, so within 30 minutes, you are supposed to answer 20 questions, and the types of questions that you will be answering will be information transfer, short answer questions, 3 options multiple choice questions, or 4 options multiple choice questions. So you need to answer all these questions within the 30 minutes time frame given to you. Okay, so the weightage is 45, the duration is 30 minutes, the number of questions are 20, and the question types, there are 4 types of questions in this paper. Okay, these are the parts in the paper that consist of 20 questions. So you have 3 parts. Part 1, this has 8 questions, which comprises of information transfer, short answers, not more than 3 words and not more than 5 words, and also multiple choice question. So questions for short, not more than 3 words, there are 3 questions, and not more than 5 words, there are also 3, and multiple choice questions, there are 2. So all in all, there's 8 questions in part 1. In part 2, there are 6 multiple choice questions, and in part 3, there are 6 questions which you are required to answer not more than 5 words. Okay, so in part 1, you are only going to listen to 1 CD text. Part 2 also 1 CD text, and part 3 you will be listening to 3 short CD texts. So for each CD text, you are to answer 2 questions. Okay, the listening strategies, meaning by what are you supposed to be listening to? So basically, you are going to listen for the main ideas, meaning by what is the speaker generally talking about, rough idea, meaning by when you listen to the person talking, you basically have the general idea of what that person is talking about or the topic of the text. Okay, then you also be listening to the supporting details. These are extra information on the main ideas given. So basically, if the main idea, for example, is about nowadays is about the virus COVID-19, so the topic is COVID-19. So that's the main idea. For the supporting details will be information about COVID-19. Okay, ways of how to prevent you from getting the COVID-19, for example, social distancing, wash your hands frequently and all that stuff. Okay, all right, for listening for specific information and also listening critically, these two strategies are used by you to look for answers needed for each question given. So when you listen for specific information, you're looking for the answer. Oh no, you're not looking, you're listening for the answer. So you want to get the right, precise and exact details so your answers will be correct. And then also listening critically also means the same as you're listening for specific information. Thereby you will be listening, evaluating, analyzing and critical thinking. Now these two strategies, or all these strategies I mean, you all need practice in order to get these skills. Like identifying the main ideas, the supporting details, and specific information. Okay? Alright, note-taking techniques. Okay, note-taking meaning by when you're listening to the CD text, you need to jot down notes. So when you're in the exam or in the test hall, the test paper, when you open the test paper, on the left-hand side will be the questions. On the right-hand side will be a blank piece of paper, blank space for you to jot down or to scribble whatever you want to on that blank space. Okay, so when you do note-taking techniques, this is why the MPM has provided you with the blank space for you to scribble, and then when you get your answers from the scribble that you have already scribbled on, you will transfer on to the left side. Okay, so note-taking techniques, when you do note-taking, it helps you focus on the message or the whatever the CD text is playing. And when you're note-taking, it will help you to understand better on what you are listening to. Okay, so when you do note-taking, there are abbreviations and symbols to help you take down notes quicker, so you won't waste time writing out long words, meaning by you use short forms or symbols. Okay, so for examples here are the word at. Okay, the word at, you can change and use the symbols alias here. This also means at. Another example is or, you use the symbol slash. And for important, you short form it with IM, P, and maximum, you short form with MAX. Okay, these abbreviations or symbols is all up to you to decide on what kind of or how you want to short form your note-taking. Okay, so you must be careful when you do these short forms or abbreviations, you must remember what it stands for. Okay, so when you transfer back to the left side where the questions are, you have to write it in full. You can't use the symbols now. When you are answering, when you are writing out the actual answer, you have to write it in full. If you write it in short form or you use symbols when you're answering the questions, even if the question is or the answer is correct, it will be wrong. Okay, so you have note-taking it helps you understand something, and abbreviations or symbols are helpful to take notes, and these are some symbols. Okay. All right, summarizing techniques. Okay, sometimes this technique is used in part 1 and part 3, whereby you have to write not more than 3 words and not more than 5 words. So when you are jotting down your notes for the answer, sometimes when you hear the answer is more than 3 or more than 5 words. So you need to summarize it in order to be exactly 3 words or less than 3 words, or exactly 5 words or less than 5 words. So the answers must contain the main points, and it is written in your own words if possible. If not, you just cut down or take out any certain words that is not needed there, and it means the same. So you need to listen and you need to understand the text, and then from there you select relevant information, and then you change and rewrite the structure of the text but retaining the meaning. The meaning has to be the same even if you use your own words. It is not wrong using your own words, but it has to have the same meaning. Okay, so this one is applicable in part 1 and part 3 in the listening text. Okay. Alright, for paraphrasing, it's basically the same as summarizing. Okay, you're putting your own words, what you thought you heard and understood. Okay, so but in order to do so, you need to listen actively and taking down notes. So when you take down notes and you feel that the answers that you have jotted down are more than 5 words or 3 words, you then have to paraphrase or summarize it by either replacing a phrase or a word. Okay, so you can either replace it with a phrase or with phrase with a synonym, change passive into active voice, or break long sentence into shorter sentences. Okay, it may be kind of difficult at the very beginning, but through practice you will learn, and eventually, hopefully, you will be able to do summarizing and paraphrasing. Okay, making inferences is determining the speaker's intent. Okay, meaning by when you listen to the CD text, you are listening on what the speaker is trying to tell you and how he is trying to tell you. So you have to listen and infer information based on the situation, the speaker's attitude, and the non-verbal communication. Okay, the speaker's attitude and the non-verbal communication will be the intonation, how he talks. Okay, so you can listen, you need to listen really attentively and understand whether this person is actually trying to inform you or persuade you, or even trying to be, maybe he's not satisfied with something. You can kind of infer by the way he talks, his intonation. Okay, so you need to listen attentively. Alright. Alright, drawing conclusions is also the same thing, meaning by you listen to the text and you need to synthesize the information and form an opinion or draw a conclusion. This one is based on facts and evidence. The facts and evidence are through the CD text that is being played to you. So when you're listening, you have to draw a conclusion. Sometimes questions like this will be in part 2 in the MCQs questions, whereby they will ask you certain questions about what will happen, what do you think will be the conclusion sometimes. So you need to draw conclusions there. Okay, but you will be able to do so because it is in the MCQ forms, so there are choices given there. So you would think logically and reason based on the facts and evidence from the text you are listening to. Okay. Alright, predicting is the same as you're trying to focus on something. So when you're listening to a text, we can anticipate or predict what the speaker will say next. We can determine what will be said next by listening to certain words or cues. As we continue listening, we can organize information and confirm predictions. Predicting accurately and reacting mentally to everything heard improves listening skills. You will be able to listen faster and effectively. As I said before, all these can be done through practice. So when you listen to a CD text, you kind of can predict or what will be said after. Usually when there is a conversation between two people or more, you can determine what the next person will say, especially when the person asks a question and you will kind of predict what the next person will answer back. So that is predicting. Okay. Okay, recognizing the speaker's attitude, role and relationship. Okay, so sometimes the question usually will be either in part 1 or in part 2, whereby you have to determine whether this person is trying to inform you, whether this person is trying to persuade you, or whether this person is trying to tell you that he is not agreeing to something. So you need to really concentrate on not only on the words that are being said, but also concentrate on the way they are being said through word usage or tone. That is why when you're listening to a CD text, you need to also listen to the intonation used by the speaker. Okay, so the tone used or the voice used by the speakers will determine his or her attitude. So if the person raises his or her voice, probably the person is angry or frustrated. Okay, so this one, usually it is an MCQ question, so you can choose from the choices given to you to determine the speaker's attitude. Okay, so the most important thing is to be able to recognize the intonation. Okay, so usually we know we don't even have to listen to a CD text. Basically, when you're talking to your friends or even your parents or something, when the tone of your parents is raised, you know your parents are upset. Okay, and if your tone of your friend is trying to advise you, you know the tone. Okay, so hopefully you won't have difficulty in determining whether this person is an informer, a campaigner, an activist, a promoter, a supporter, a sponsor, or even a counselor. Okay. Okay, let's go for the tips. Okay, the first tip is to skim through all the questions and the answers options to get a general idea of the text that you are going to listen to. So before the test starts, you are given 1 minute to read all the questions, meaning by you have to read all 20 questions within that 1 minute. While reading, you have to underline and highlight the keywords in the question so that you know what to listen for. So usually I would tell my students to read within that 1 minute and to highlight the keywords for each question. So when you highlight the keywords, when you are listening, when you highlight the words, you can see it clearer. So you know what you're looking for. Oh no, you're not looking for. You know what you're listening for. Okay? So you have to read the question so you know, okay, I am supposed to be listening to this. So for example, you're supposed to be listening to his name or what occupation. Okay, so you know, okay, I have to listen to this person's occupation. So you highlight the word occupation. So you will listen to what his occupation is. All right, and then if you don't have a highlighter, just underline the word. Okay, all right. Usually in part 1, when you're listening to the CD text, it is in sequence order. I mean, when you listen it at the very beginning, it will be answers for number 1 and it will follow suit 1, 2, 3 until number 8, usually in part 1. So whenever you're listening, you jot down the notes in the blank space given to you on your right hand side of the question paper. You scribble whatever jot down notes that you want and then you transfer it back to the left side where the questions are. Okay, that is in part 1. Okay, but in part 2, it is in sequence. Sometimes it can be jumbled up, meaning by you may not get the answer for the first question at the very beginning. It could be in the middle. Okay, so you need to be careful. That is why you are given 1 minute to read beforehand so you know what you're supposed to be listening to. Okay, so you have to be very alert. Okay. All right. When you're listening, when the CD text is played the first time, meaning the first listening, you ought to have answered at least 4 out of 8 questions in part 1. And then in part 2, you should have answered at least 4 out of 6. And in part 3, you have at least answered 1 out of 2. I know part 3 has 6 questions, but 6 questions is divided into 2. So you will be listening to 3 CD texts. So it's short. So you have answered 1 out of 2 for the first listening. During the second listening, when the CD text is played for the second time, you are hearing for the answers to the questions that have not yet been answered. So for example, in part 1, you have already answered 4. So there's left 4 more answers for you to look for. So when the second listening, you are looking for those 4 answers, and also you are also checking on the answers that you had obtained in the first listening. Okay, that is the second listening. Okay, so each CD text is played twice. So the first round you listen, you at least have to answer at least 4 out of 8, 4 out of 6, 1 out of 2. Okay, now you do not wait until the second time the CD is played and only then you want to answer all the questions. You won't have time, and you won't even be able to grasp all the questions or all the answers for each question. So do not wait for the second time for the CD to be played in order for you to find the answers. Okay, so remember, the first time CD is played, you have already answered part of the questions. Okay. Alright, spelling errors. Okay, you are only allowed 1 error letter for spelling of a word. 1 letter error. Okay, the 1 letter error should not change the pronunciation of the word and should not have another meaning. If it does, then it's considered wrong. I will show you some examples in a while. Okay, so errors in part 1 and part 3 for the short answers, the not more than 3 words and not more than 5 words. You are only allowed to make 1 error throughout the answers given, including the spelling error. So if you have an error in your spelling and you also have an error with your grammar, the answers will be wrong. You are only allowed to make 1 error throughout the whole sentence. Okay, alright, so part 3 needs short answers of not more than 5 words, and the answer given must be grammatically correct. Okay, meaning here is that sometimes when you listen to the CD text, it is in the present form, present tense form. Okay, but when you look at the questions, it changes the tense form, it changes into the past. So you need to look carefully on to the questions on the tenses, whether it is in the past or is it in the present tense. Okay, they are testing you whether you can change it. Sometimes you have to change the pronoun also. Okay, he, she, alright, so it has to be grammatically correct. So that is why you have to be very careful in part 3. Make sure the questions, the tenses is there, that you understand what kind of tenses I'm supposed to be using. Alright, concentrate and listen actively and don't get distracted. Okay, you have to listen actively and you're not supposed to get distracted. You students or candidates can be easily distracted by certain simple things that distract them. Okay, so for example, if you're in a hall or in a school hall and you are sitting for this listening test, even if a car passes by and you turn around and you look at it, it will distract you. The CD is playing and you're not listening. So you're not supposed to be distracted by any kind of distractions that's happening outside of the hall. Even if a bird is flying, students will be distracted. Or even a cat is walking past you or strolling beside you, you will be distracted. So you need to be listening actively, and you're not supposed to be distracted with any sounds that's happening around you, or whatever is in your mind, whatever is happening around you, you're not supposed to be distracted. Okay? Okay, part 1. This is part 1. I'm going to give you an example. It says there, not more than 3 words. So in the test paper, the not more than 3 words is in black. Okay? So you cannot exceed 3 words. So the example here is optimizing blood supply to various parts of the body helps in flushing out toxins. So the answer is flushing out toxins. So that is correct. That's 3 words there. But if you answer flushing out the toxins, an extra word there, you put the, it will exceed 3 words. This one becomes 4 words. So it exceeds 3 words, so it is wrong, even though the answer is correct, but you have exceeded 3 words. Okay. Okay, part 3 also has 6 questions with 3 short CD texts to listen to. Each CD text has 2 questions. Therefore, you must be alert and concentrate as soon as the CD starts playing. Because it is a short CD text and there's only 2 questions involved, you need to be alert as soon as the CD starts playing, because as soon as the person starts talking, the answer may be there already. So if you're not focusing or you're not alert as soon as the CD starts playing, you will not get the answer for the first question given. Okay, so it says there not more than 5 words. Therefore, it has to be in a complete sentence. So as you see, for example, the answer is the man was shocked when he was diagnosed with terminal cancer. Okay, so it's not more than 5, it's 4 words there. But if you were to answer was diagnosed with terminal cancer by the doctor, okay, so probably the answer you heard was this: diagnosed with terminal cancer by the doctor, the full answer. Diagnosed with terminal cancer by the doctor, and you put the answer there by the doctor. This one will exceed 5 words. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 words here. Even though the answer is there, you can see the answer is there, but it has exceeded 5 words. So this one, the answer is wrong. Okay. Wrong spelling. Okay. As I said before, one error letter in a word is acceptable if it doesn't change the meaning or it doesn't change the pronunciation. Okay, so for examples are the word happiness. Now if you spell the word happiness with an E instead of the, you add an E, you add an E. So Happiness, the pronunciation has changed, even though it is a 1-letter error. So if you were to pronounce the word Happiness, it won't be happiness anymore. It will be happiness. So the pronunciation has changed. So this one, it becomes wrong. But if you spelt it as happiness, you use Y instead of the I, even though it is a 1-letter error, but the pronunciation doesn't change and there is no other word in the dictionary, happiness, so it doesn't change the pronunciation, it becomes correct. Okay. Another examples are acne, the word acne, and you change the E with the I and the Y. Both are accepted because it doesn't change meaning and the pronunciation. You still pronounce it as acne, acne. Okay, so it is acceptable. Okay, but the word writer, you put an extra T there. It's a 1-letter error, but it changes the pronunciation. It doesn't become writer anymore, it becomes ritter. So the pronunciation changes. So this is not acceptable. Okay, so always, another example will be if you add another L, double L here, you still pronounce it as always. It doesn't change the pronunciation and the meaning doesn't change either. So it is only a 1-letter error, it is acceptable. The word drinking, okay, and you spelt it with a G in the middle. Okay, drinking, you don't pronounce even the G here is considered silent lah. Okay, so it's word drinking, you still pronounce it the same, there's no change and there's no other meaning as this one, drinking, so it is acceptable. Okay, another word will be smoking. Okay, and you spelt it with a C in the middle, so when you pronounce it, it's not smoking anymore, it becomes smoking. So when it becomes smoking, the pronunciation has changed and the word is in the dictionary. So it is not acceptable. Alright, so be careful when you want to spell a certain word. Alright. Okay, that's the end of listening for today. I hope that you have understood the listening. MUET 801. Okay, next. We will go on to speaking. Alright, speaking is also half an hour. same as listening, half an hour, and it also carries 45 marks. Okay, so you have two tasks, task A and task B. Task A is individual presentation for 2 minutes, and task B will be group interaction for 10 minutes. For each task, you are given 2 minutes to prepare. So within the half an hour given to you, you have to do 2 tasks, one individual and one group interaction. Okay. Next, this is the sitting position of the test. Okay, so there is candidate here, A, candidate B, candidate C, candidate D, and you have 2 examiners here, both at each end. Okay, so basically candidate A will start, then candidate B, C, and D for task A, and for group discussion, anyone may start. Okay, it doesn't have to be A. Alright, so this is a sitting position for the speaking test. Okay, so the skills that the examiners are looking for are accuracy, meaning by you are using the appropriate language, you are actually using the appropriate intonation, pronunciation. Okay, that's the accuracy, and you're actually participating in the speaking test. Okay, fluency will be whether you are proficient, medium, or low user of the language. All right, appropriately, whether you are using the appropriate way of discussing. Actually, basically, you are using the appropriate way of discussing. There are ways of doing a polite way of discussing in the speaking test. Coherence and cohesion is when you're talking, especially for task A, there is a flow to it. Okay, so when there is a flow to it, meaning by you're using the linkers. Like my first point is in addition, however, so those are coherence and cohesion. Okay, use of language function. What kind of language, meaning by your vocab, your grammar, and you're using appropriate intonation also here is used. Okay, managing in discussion will be in task B, whether you are participating in the discussion itself and you are initiating the discussion also. Alright, and task fulfillment, the last one, will be whether you are answering the question or not. Okay, given to you. Alright, you are also assessed between 3 categories: task fulfillment, language, and communication. So task fulfillment, meaning you understood the topic, meaning you are actually answering the question, and you are developing the ideas and presenting your viewpoints, and you also have mature treatment of the topic given to you. Alright, so the marks are given there. Marks are also given for language, meaning by you're using the appropriate language, the English language, not German. Okay, so the meaning comes across, you're using appropriate and varied vocabulary, able to link ideas, and grammatically correct, accurate lah, accurate. Your grammar is accurate. And then you are also given marks for communication ability, whether you are fluent, okay, whether you're proficient, whether you're moderate, or whether you are poor. Okay, and an accurate pronunciation, whether you're pronouncing the word correctly and you deliver confidently, interacts and maintains a discussion, displays initiative and interest. So all 3 parts are given marks separately. Okay, so each one will be given 20 marks each. Okay, so if you do not fulfill the task fulfillment, but you have the language and you have the confidence, your marks will be given based on you will get more marks in language and communication compared to task fulfillment. Okay, because you're not answering the question. All right. Okay, strategies for speaking. First of all, you have to be prepared. Being prepared here means that you have prior knowledge of basically on certain social issues that are happening around you. You have to be alert if you're going to take MUET test. So you need to be prepared, meaning by you have prior knowledge. You know some social issues happening around you. Okay? Relax and be confident. That is most important. I know it's going to be difficult for you to relax in a test, okay? It's going to be difficult, but you need to be relaxed, okay, in the test, all right? And be confident. That is, confidence is being built through practice, so you need to practice speaking, okay? I know now we are going through the MCO, and maybe you have difficulty talking to somebody, maybe but now we're living in the IT world. There are more possibilities for you to talk with your friends. You can use the WhatsApp application, you can use the iMessenger. At least for us, I know for WhatsApp, at least 4 people can join in the video chatting. So in a MUET speaking test, there's 4 in a group. So you still can practice doing your speaking with your friends. Okay, all right. Keep your idea clear and concise. Be engaging. This one is basically for task B. When you're having the discussion, you have to be engaged in the discussion. You have to show that you want to participate in the discussion. You can't just keep quiet and put your head down and not participate. All right. Exercise voice control, meaning by when you are discussing in the task B, you should have voice control. You can't show your temper if you are disagreeing with one of the candidates. You do not show your temper there. You have to control your voice. You do not have to raise your voice. Okay? And also you need to control your facial expressions and gestures. Your facial expressions, if you're upset with somebody in the group, you do not have to show it. Okay, you need to control your facial expressions and gestures. Gestures here is the moving of your hands. Okay, so if you want to move your hands, it's not wrong. You can wave your hands, whatever you want to do, but you can't wave it, like really wave it all over the place. Okay, so you need to control it. All right. Handling questions will be, usually it is in the task B, whereby maybe one of your candidates will be asking you questions, or you may be asking questions to other candidates who are not participating. Okay, and also timing. Timing here is for task A is 2 minutes. So you need to time yourself. Practice at home and try to talk at least 2 minutes. Okay, 2 minutes sounds not long, but it is. Okay, 2 minutes is kind of long. All right, and then timing for task B is 10 minutes. 10 minutes is really long. Okay. Especially if you're in a group and your group members are not really talking, 10 minutes can be like 10 hours, all right? Okay. All right, this is task A. So before the task starts, task A and task B, you are given 1 minute to read the question. All right, so you are to read both tasks, task A and task B, and you have to read it carefully for both tasks. So after the 1 minute is up, the examiners will ask everyone whether they understood the task or not. Okay, so after that 1 minute, when the examiner asks if you are not sure on what the situation is all about, ask the examiner. The examiner will try and explain as best as they can for you to understand. Okay, do not just nod your head because the others are nodding and you yourself, you do not understand. So you need to understand the situation before you actually start talking. So you are given the chance to ask, then ask. Okay, all right. Then after the 1 minute, you are given 2 minutes to prepare for task A. So within that 2 minutes, you have to think of what aspects that should be included in your presentation. You've got exactly 2 minutes. All right. So think of many ideas and jot them down quickly. Okay. As you know, candidate A will start first. So candidate A will basically have exactly 2 minutes to prepare and jot down as many points as he can or she can. You will, for candidate A, may not have the time to write complete sentences. So you need to have the skills of mind mapping, which for sure you know how to do mind mapping, right? So you jot them down, and when you jot down your notes, you think of how you want to express the notes that you have written down on the piece of paper. Okay, I'm not saying that candidate B and C and D have longer time for them to prepare. Usually all have 2 minutes to prepare. And once candidate A starts talking, candidate B, C, and D should be listening to candidate A and not preparing for their task. They should be listening to candidate A talking. All right. Okay, and then you have to have at least 3 reasons for task A, and then you have to give examples. The more examples you give, the more time, the longer you will talk, and you will cover 2 minutes. Okay, and then you have to have an introduction, and if possible, a conclusion. Okay, a conclusion is not necessary if the time is up. So if you don't have a conclusion, it is okay. You don't have to have a conclusion. But if you are talking and you are not up to 2 minutes and you come to your conclusion and it's not enough time for 2 minutes, the examiner will ask you to continue. Okay, the conclusion is not needed if the examiner says time's up, then the conclusion is not needed. All right. Okay, then you have the presentation. Presentation meaning by you greet the examiners and then you present the points. You have 2 minutes to present. Relax and try not to be nervous. Speak clearly. Stress words at the right places. Express your ideas logically. Remember to make eye contact with the examiners. Okay, so you have 2 minutes to talk. Now, if you have prepared your notes on that piece of paper given to you, please do not read. If you read, you will read exactly for 30 seconds. Okay, you got 2 minutes to talk. So do not read whatever you have written. Try to look as reference and then you look up and you have eye contact with the examiner. There are 2 examiners there, so choose whichever examiner you want to talk to. Eye contact has to be there. So meaning by when you have eye contact with the examiner, you are talking to the examiner. If you're looking down, reading from the paper that you have written your notes, there is not a speaking test. It is considered a reading test. Okay? Then you conclude, you summarize, and you thank the examiner. Okay? When you come to task B, you will also be given another 2 minutes to prepare on the task, but during that 2 minutes, you are not allowed to discuss with the other candidates. You will prepare on your own. Okay, so while the 2 minutes is given, you either stick to the point you are given in task A, or you can choose from the other 3 points given. There are 4 points given in task B. So either you stick to the point that is given to you in task A, or you change. It depends. All right. Then usually you will have 3 points. Okay, for task B. Okay, for the discussion, anyone may start in the discussion. It does not have to be candidate A. Anyone may start the discussion. Now, if you're from a school, you have already been put into specific group, so you know your group members. So in my school, I would tell my my students to choose who is going to start and who is going to end. But if you are a private candidate and you do not know your other candidates, therefore you yourself can start the conversation. Okay, so once you start the conversation, do not hold on to the conversation too long. Okay, introduce, discuss the point, and then you give other members a chance to elaborate. Okay, so you need to be tactful and considerate. Do not talk too long. All right. Okay, so when you want to ensure a smooth interaction, you need to cooperate with the other candidates. You need to participate actively in the discussion. Okay, if you need any clarification, you can ask any other members in the group. Okay, so you need to actively participate. If you see anyone in the group not participating, you need to encourage them or call them to join in the discussion. All right. Okay, as I said just now, you invite someone who is not really participating to be engaged in the conversation and contribute a point. If you are the one inviting these candidates to talk, the candidate will talk. But if the examiner calls this candidate will probably be more nervous and maybe have difficulty in answering. So if you feel or you see someone in the group not talking or not participating, call. You cannot control the discussion. If you control the discussion, you will lose points. So do not control, initiate the discussion and ask everyone else to participate. Alright, body language is also important, meaning by you nod or you shake your head or you move your hand. Okay, remember, don't move your hand too much, alright? Okay, and to show that you are actively participating in the discussion and you understand what your friends are saying. Okay, do not mumble. Mumble here meaning by you're talking under your breath. Okay, I can see your mouth moving but nothing's coming out. So do not mumble. Alright, pronunciation and intonation are important. So pronounce the words correctly, use the appropriate intonation also. And do not sound like a robot, meaning by do not be monotonous, as if you don't like being there. Who likes being in a test, right? So do not sound like a robot, don't be monotonous, use the correct intonation. Alright, this is sample questions for task A. So the situation is the same. Happiness can depend on many things, and candidate A will do what you want, B will go where you want, C will get to be what you want, and candidate D will have what you want, to have what you want. The situation is the same. Happiness can depend on many things. So candidate A will have a different point, B also, C and D. Okay, task B, situation is also the same, but you are given 4 points there. Your point will be there too, and the 3 other points will also be there, so you can choose whichever point you want. Alright, for task B. Alright. Okay, expressions. Okay, these are certain expressions that can be used during the test. Greetings, good morning, good afternoon, hello, hi, or to have a turn, can I say something? May I interrupt for a moment? Okay. Alright, and certain expressions like asking for opinion, what do you think of, do you have any thoughts on, what are your ideas, and then supporting, there's certain sentences here, could you elaborate, could you give me an example, could you explain a little more. Okay, these are expressions that you can use. Some more expressions here, personally I think, in my humble opinion, or I totally agree, yes, that's a good idea. Okay, so these are some expressions that you can use. And tips. Okay, do not rush, use different expressions, be confident, body language is very important. You do not slouch during the test, you don't slouch and you show you're not interested at all in the discussion. You have to sit up straight and show your confidence, okay? Alright, eye contact is also important. Interrupt when necessary and politely. This is in task B. If you want to interrupt someone, you have to be polite. So if you want to interrupt, usually you will just say, excuse me, can I say something? That will be interrupting. That will be also polite. Okay, use linkers. And then also say, remind you, don't mumble, don't be upset or defensive, and don't monopolize. So mumble is like you're saying something under your breath. Don't monopolize, meaning you're controlling. Okay, and don't be upset. It's only a test. Okay. Alright, and then also avoid using the word lah. Many people will have this and lah. Okay, so if you have lah is normal, many, especially Malay students, will use the word lah or usually the word kan at the end of each sentence. Now, if you happen to use these words lah or kan in the speaking test, ignore it as if nothing had happened. Okay, don't giggle. And and close your mouth and make it obvious that you have made a mistake in using Malay words. It is okay. Just ignore it as if nothing has happened, okay? Alright, don't fidget or fiddle with your pen. Don't fidget here, meaning by you don't move around. You don't shake your body all around. You're shaking your leg. The whole table will move. So stop shaking and stop fidgeting and stop fiddling with your pen. Relax. Okay, it's a test. You have to remember, keep in mind that the examiners there are not there to fail you. They are there to make you pass, but in order for you to pass, you need to talk. Alright? Okay, that's the end of speaking for me. Alright, so I hope whatever I've given to you for the past 50 minutes or so, on both papers, listening and speaking, that you have understood what I have told you, and I wish you all the best and you can do your own practice at home with the reference books that you are provided with. And lastly, I would like to say Selamat Hari Raya to all and Maaf Zahir Batin. Stay safe, stay at home. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Daripada Anas bin Malik radhiyallahu anhu berkata, Nabi SAW pernah berdoa, Allahumma inni a'udzubika minal barasi wal jununi wal juzami wa min sayil asqam. Ya Allah, aku berlindung denganmu daripada penyakit sopak, penyakit gila, penyakit kusta dan penyakit-penyakit yang buruk. Hadis diriwayatkan oleh Al-Imam Abu Dawud dengan sanad yang sahih.